the King of Connecticut here with a very special edition, Easter Eve edition of the Old School Shooters for Canada's top combat sports podcast, the Hannibal TV. I am joined tonight by my co-host, the Cranimal, Colin Crandall from MMA Power Hour.
Happy to be here.
Out of the Palmetto State of South Carolina, we have MMA fighter, the She-Hulk, Lanisha Vincent, who is looking to cross over into the wild and wacky world of professional wrestling. So I will turn things over to my co-host, Mr. Colin Crandall, to ask some questions of our special guest on this Easter Eve edition.
Thank you very much, King of Connecticut, Granimal, my good friend. Great job always of emceeing and hosting a show. I appreciate it. For all my Canadian friends, happy Easter, eh? And for everyone else, so glad to have you here. So excited to talk to Lanisha Vincent, the She-Hulk. I love that name. And let me ask you, Lanisha, what's the hardest fight you've ever had? Who was that against, and why was it the hardest fight?
My last fight I recently had in November of last year was my hardest fight due to the fact that it was my first fight back in the United States. And I had a lot weighing on me in that fight because I had to reintroduce myself to my the people in my state. You know, a lot of fighters that didn't know who I was. So, I mean,
absolutely,
it was a lot weighing on
it makes sense. What do you think of the UFC and the WWE merging? Let me make this two questions in one. What do you think of the UFC merging with the WWE? And did you see the interview with the King of Connecticut and Jack Kilby where they talked about that?
Honestly, I don't think it's a bad idea because you already have a lot of UFC fighters already crossing over to the WWE, and you know, it's not a bad look. It's actually more money involved, and I think it's a good look. It'll bring both crowds in, like people that don't know about the UFC. I mean, MMA, and people that don't know about wrestling. Like,
and crossover could be both ways, but I would think there might be more fighters from UFC going to WWE than the reverse. Would you agree? Yeah. Very cool. King of Connecticut,
I want to ask Lanisha, before we talk more about professional wrestling, you mentioned your last opponent, and was that for Drew Stokes? He looked like you fought for Conflict in South Carolina, and who was that against?
Yes. Wendy, and I think it's Wendy and
Unson. Is she related to Kelly and Unson?
Yeah, that's
oh wow!
Wow! Kelly, a veteran fighter that some folks may remember from back in the day in South Carolina. That's interesting. Because when you said that name, I thought of that. Now, there's another name that I want to introduce you to because I think she'd be enormously helpful for you. Is Jenny Santana or Jenny Haas? She's been a guest here on the show. She is the daughter of WWE Hall of Famer, the great Tito Santana. And she has a developmental school for professional wrestling for the WWE. And she's also a black belt in BJJ and a world champion in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I think she'd be a good one to introduce you to help you get into the squared circle. And, you know, I'd urge you, too, to study some of the old UWFI type matches because coming from MMA, you know, I brought a number of fighters over from the mat and from the cage to the squared circle, like UFC Hall of Famer Stephan Bonner, Phil Baroni. I worked a lot with Dan the Beast Severn, Kamal Shalarus, UFC and one veteran that I managed in his UFC career and brought over to the squared circle. There are a lot of opportunities there, and you wanna do what I was told years ago when I did that myself, crossed over into the professional wrestling world, is you make those people believe that there's not a damn thing you're doing in that ring to your opponent that you can't do to every single one of those fat slobs paying to see you. You're going to have to learn a little trash talk for the squared circle of professional wrestling. Well, you know, this is an exciting edition of the show. We want to wish everyone a very happy and splendid Easter holiday. And how can fans get a hold of you, Lanisha, on your social media?
Well, Facebook, you can follow me at Lanisha She-Hulk Vincent. That's Lanisha She-Hulk Vincent, Vinson. And my Instagram is Lanisha She-Hulk Vincent, or you can put in She-Hulk _ smash.
Awesome.
Underscore smash. Excellent. I like that. Could I ask real quick, does the She-Hulk ever come out outside of the cage or ring, or is that only for inside?
I try.
Good,
For the most part, I try to tame it.
Me.
Awesome. Now, let me ask you another question here before we close out. Let's say you were facing Jenny Santana in the squared circle of professional wrestling. I want to hear a quick promo. What would that promo sound like?
Well, I mean, I think it would be a great bout. So, I mean, I'm definitely going to.
What would it sound like, though? We want to hear it for the fans. What would it sound like? The She-Hulk. We want to hear a little trash talk from that She-Hulk.
Yeah. From Gene Oakland, She-Hulk, you got a great match coming with Jenny Santana. What are you going to do to her?
Good night.
She's gonna have to bring it. Because once I enter it there, I'm smash.
She-Hulk smash.
I mean, so I'm definitely ready. And like I said, I'll definitely enter into wrestling school and learn more. So because I know wrestling is a bunch of trash talking. And I'm not really a big talker, so that's something I'm gonna have to definitely.
You can do it.
Absolutely. No, you could do it, no doubt. And I just want to thank you all, and I want to wish everybody a happy Easter. And it wouldn't be Easter Sunday if you didn't hear a little verse from the chairman of the board. You know, our tagline, our song for old school shooters, and we've got the youngest. And this is usually a bunch of old timers on this show. We've got the first time we've got a younger fighter out here on Old School Shooters with Miss Lanisha Vincent, the She-Hulk. But we want to take you away with this from the chairman of the board. Our theme song. I've been to town, beyond the boulevard, and down the beach. And I've learned things that only time can teach. Thank you to my co-host, the Cranimal Colin Crandall. Check out his show, MMA Power Hour. Check out Old School Shooters. And check out the She-Hulk, Lanisha Vincent. And everybody have a great Easter.